Hey guys, what's going on? It's Z-Star, and today I have a video for you guys about the new patch in Overwatch, because a new patch did actually come out on the 19th of July, 2015, and it's actually a pretty cool one. Lots of awesome stuff in this patch, including the new support character, Ana, and we're actually going to jump into it, and I actually have not read all these yet. I've read a few of them, but basically you're going to hear my exact opinions on them as soon as I read them. So we're going to go through these things. So starting at the top, the patch features which is obviously Ana as a support character, and this is actually really cool. I think the game has been out for a little bit over a month. They launched at the very end of May, and almost 2 months. And if we get a new hero every like 2 months, month and a half, that's gonna be awesome because it just kind of changes up the game dynamics so much, and it's gonna be a lot more fun and give a lot more retention to the players. So if you guys do not know about Ana, you guys can check out my other video, and it talks about the character's weapon, the biotic rifle, and you can actually read the patch notes for yourself, which will be linked in the description if you guys want more updates, more on this patch. But basically, she has a biotic rifle. She's the one that can put people to sleep, and she's actually she's a really interesting character, and she's very hybrid. And I'm not sure if she can be a healer by herself, but I think she can definitely help the team out in lots of ways. So. Next, going on to the general updates. So, this one says if your match goes into overtime for more than 20 seconds, the fuse will start to burn down more quickly. So, this means that the longer overtime is, the shorter overtime is, you know? You don't have those 10-minute overtimes anymore. You don't have those 2-minute overtimes anymore, where it's just going back and forth. I actually had this yesterday, right? Last night, I should say. Where we were playing competitive, and it just wouldn't stop. They just kept touching the point little bit by little bit. And we ended up winning, but it just took like another almost like 5 minutes because they just kept touching the point. So it does stay on longer. It does go down quicker, but you can actually kind of combat that by getting on the point. So and now players respond more slowly during overtime, which is actually huge because that means overtime is basically sudden death, right? That is crazy. If you have, I think it's a 7-second respawn time, maybe 8-second, but now you're going to be respawning between 9 and 10 seconds during overtime, and that is half of the overtime burn down timer, right? So if it goes on for 20 seconds, it burns down more quickly. If you are out for 8 to 10 seconds, you are missing half of the overtime, and that's just crazy. That means overtime is a huge thing now that you actually have to be on point. You have to be fighting for that point in overtime, or you're not going to get it. Simple as that. Moving on to competitive play, matches can only have one hero per team, which is weird. It's what's it called? Overwatch was the last weekly brawl before Ana Knows Best, I think. So no, Overwatch was kind of like the beta test of this, where you can only have one hero per team, but in Overwatch you have to commit to that hero. Here you can switch, but you still can, like, if there's already a McCree, you can't switch to a McCree, you know. So that's honestly there for things to not be like, it's partially there to keep quick play and competitive different, right? You can't play all tour being competitive, right? That's basically what it's there for. But the other reasons it's there to maintain balance, right? In the sense of, two Lucios was kind of overpowered if you had two good Lucios and they knew how to play. So moving on to the miscellaneous stuff, Ana's added Ana as an AI controlled hero, obviously. Timing on Zenyatta's rapid Discord achievement is lenient, which means because Zenyatta's buff gave him the Discord orb that traveled faster, that achievement has been changed. Target enemies now respond with saying "I'm with you" when players use the group up communication. So that's like, when you tell someone to group up, they'll be like "I'm with you." If they're being targeted, I guess is the best way to explain that. And we named 5 sprays to avoid duplicate titles. That's kind of interesting. I didn't really care for that, about that. But that's kind of interesting that they're kind of keeping it fresh. That not every few heroes you'll have the same spray, which is actually kind of cool. So nice job doing that. So here are balance updates. General self-healing ability. This is the good stuff, right? Self-healing abilities now charge ultimate abilities. As a result, some heroes' ultimate costs have been adjusted. See below. So now what we're looking at is people like Bastion, people like Soldier 76. Their healing abilities count towards your ultimate abilities, right? So, but because of that, your ultimate has to be adjusted in the sense it has to be increased or decreased, or in this case increased, because you're actually adding to it. So, Bastion, for instance, his ultimate cost is increased by 10% because he can self-heal himself. Going on to D.va, defense matrix cooldown decreased from 10 seconds to 1 second, which is huge because she has that little bar on the side now. A new resource meter has been added, like I was saying. Defense matrix takes 10 seconds to reach full capacity, so there is still that 10-second cooldown, but you can take it down and put it right back up if you need it, right? So at full charge, defense matrix will last 4 seconds, which is actually kind of short. I kind of wish it was closer to 5 seconds. Defense matrix will now remain active as long as it's assigned to a hotkey is held. So you hold that hotkey down, and it'll remain active. It's not toggleable. Defense matrix has been reclassified as alternate fire, and is now bound to right mouse button as a default, which is actually a huge thing because that means defense matrix is actually part of her kit, like straight up part of her kit. Option to toggle defense matrix is in the what's it called, options. Sorry, but that's interesting that they actually put that into alternate fire, which is kind of cool. Self-destruct wise, her ultimate cost is decreased by 15%. Explosion delay reduced from 4 to 3 seconds, which is actually a huge decrease. I was playing playing in quick play with the new patch, and oh my god, it was actually really hard to get out of. I had a few where I just couldn't do anything, especially playing as Ana because she doesn't have a whole lot of mobility. I actually got caught in that a few times. So, and explosion no longer damages D.va. Or the player who activates it, so that's kind of cool, I guess, I didn't know it actually damaged her on the first because I don't play D.va. D.va isn't being selected as often as other tanks, right? They feel that this stems from the underperformance and her damage absorption abilities. So basically what we're talking about here is they want her to be picked more because she has a really interesting kit, and they don't want only Reinhardt and only Roadhog, right? So they're kind of buffing D.va in the sense to make her more competitive with the other tanks. So moving on to Lucio, his sound barrier ultimate cost is increased by 10%, which I think is a mistake because his sound barrier already takes a while to charge up. His mcree's Peacekeeper now maintains full damage at longer distances, so you can actually snipe that Widowmaker. I think McCree needs to be buffed, honestly. His tank buster ability was just out the window. I don't think he needs to be a tank buster anymore, but I think he needs to be buffed a little bit. Moving on to Mercy. She has a damage boost, and it will no longer stack with bonus damage provided by another Mercy. So you can't have 2 damage boosted Mercies on one McCree or something like that, which no one ever saw a lot. There wasn't a lot of that, but it was a problem to an extent. So just a quick fix. So the Resurrect ultimate ability cost increased by 30%, which is huge. That is huge because that Resurrect really changed team battle. So being 30% more expensive is crazy. Movement is no longer prevented during this activation, and Guardian Angel instantly resets upon use, which is kind of cool. So you can just kind of keep Guardian Angel from person to person. Movement on Mercy's thing is actually really nice because you can kind of move around. Because a lot of times you would resurrect, and then you would get shot, and then your team would be alive, but you would be dead, and they wouldn't have a healer. Then you resurrect would be for nothing. So that's gone. And so you can kind of move behind cover and stuff. Roadhog ultimate increased by 45%, which is really good because he used that a lot more than it should have been used. Heavy pulse rifle for Soldier 76. The spread recovery begins after a short delay, is what I should say. What that means is that the crosshairs will start coming back together after a short delay after you stop shooting, which I think is actually a mistake too, because I really like the way Soldier 76 was, but maybe I just don't like change, Maybe I just don't like change. Other than that, his tactical advisor has been increased by 10%. Zenyatta, this is a big one. Zenyatta's base shield has been increased by 50 now, has 50 health and 150 shield, which means he has 200 health. Primary fire weapon damage is increased from 45 to 45 to 40. Alternate weapon fire is also decreased from 35, or is increased from 35 to 40. So each way he's going to do 40 damage, no matter what button you press. Orbit Discord and Orbit Harmony have been increased. Projectile, like the speed they're traveling, from 30 to 120, which is 4 times the speed, which is crazy. So you just kind of shoot the person a little bit, hit the Discord orb, and I'm gonna just keep shooting them. Transcendence movement speed is now doubled upon activation. I do not know why they did that, but I assume it was for a good reason. And healing amount is increased from 200 to 300 per second, which is awesome, because in Yada just became a lot better of a healer now that he has that transcendence ability, health buff. So maybe he will replace Mercy, because Mercy does have that kind of weird 30% time to resurrect. But I don't know, maybe not. User interface wise, and that was it for the heroes. User interface wise, players can now enter numerical values for any option. That also has a slider, so volume, sensitivity, all that kind of stuff, which is actually kind of nice, so you can get the exact number you really want. Players can now hide in-game chat by doing Control-Shift-C or by typing /hide chat. So that is actually really interesting. If someone's just kind of bugging you or whatever, you either mute them or whatever, you know. If your team's kind of bashing on you, just hide chat, whatever. Or if you want your HUD to be a little bit cleaner, just hide chat. Controls, mouse sensitivity can now be adjusted out to 2 decibels, which is really precise, and I like that a lot. Gameplay wise, mid-match tips can be toggled off, and that will be really awesome, because I have 50 hours in this game. I do not need to know how to counter a Pharah, okay? Thank you. I do not know to stay behind cover when, you know, whatever. Like, come on, guys. I know this now. Socially, friend requests can now be toggled off. Friend notifications can now be toggled off. And whispers can now be toggled off. Simple stuff. Honestly, it should have been here when the game launched. When the game launched, it should have been here. Video-wise, 21 by 9 aspect ratio support, and players can now enable real-world clock by toggling the display system clock setting. So that's kind of cool. And social features, certain accommodations will now appear less frequently at the end of round voting. Interesting. So this is kind of cool. Certain accommodations will appear less frequently. So you will not get as many accommodations by doing Transcendence healing or protective barriers applied for Zarya, which means those people are gonna have to show up a lot more to get commended at the end. And then we have a whole lot of bug fixes just on different maps and players. And then they also did a bug that sometimes caused players to not be able to rejoin games competitive play, which is actually huge, because people would leave and they wouldn't be able to come back. So anyway, I hope you guys like this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys have fun in the new patch, because you know what? It's a good patch, for the most part at least. So good on Overwatch, guys. Right now, play Ana, play D.va, play Zenyatta, anybody else, you know. Maybe play Roadhog, get good with Roadhog. Ultimate increased by 45%, that's crazy. Anyway, I hope you guys had a great time. I hope you guys will play Overwatch, and I'll see you guys in the next video.